Alright, good morning guys, and today is another day trip. Today's schedule will be the southern part of Iceland, and I'm gonna show you the full route we have on this trip. This trip here takes approximately 10 hours in total and costs around €100 per person. The first stop that we are stopping on is approximately 2 hours away from Reykjavik, and it's this waterfall here called Skogafoss. Basically means forest waterfall, and just look at how amazing it looks like from this view here. Surrounding it you have this mountain chains, and in the far back there you can actually see the coast side of Iceland. So this waterfall here is one of the tallest waterfalls in all of Iceland, and Skogafoss is stretching all the way up to 60 meters above sea level, which is pretty cool. And as you know, waterfalls are some of the main symbols of Iceland. It's basically a country of waterfalls, glaciers and volcanoes, and all these waterfalls here looks so beautiful in each ways. All this sand here, it's just completely black. This place here is in a very seismic activity zone, which means that there are regular eruptions from the lava, earthquakes, and since Iceland is a volcanic island, that's not really a surprise. Luckily it doesn't affect the local communities that often, except for a few years back. 12 years ago it was a big eruption here where a lot of people had to evacuate. So it happens regularly, but luckily not that often. They say that there are around 500 earthquakes every week in Iceland. Luckily it doesn't affect the local communities that well. And this is how the waterfall looks from above. Pretty impressive, especially with the mountain view in the background there, and the beautiful cloud clear sky with the coastline in the very far distance there. Our bus station is situated there. But anyway, this is Skogafoss, and our next destination we will be also exploring more waterfalls and glaciers eventually today. Alright, the next stop on our South Iceland route is Solheimajokull, which is this cool glacier there that you can see in the far distance. So what is actually a glacier? Well, a glacier is a formation of dense ice that it's constantly moving under its own weight. So it basically consists of icebergs of ice, rock, snow. Unfortunately, due to the global warming, glaciers are eventually disappearing. So this glacier that you see behind me here might not look the same in 1 year. It's melting too fast these days. And this is the same kind of scenarios that you can see in the Arctic and Antarctic. It will eventually lead to more tsunamis and instability in the weather. So we're here now, and as you can see over there, you see that the ice is covered with this black ashes, and this black ashes is actually leftover from volcanic eruptions. This glacier here is the 5th largest in Iceland. The largest one is situated in the southeast part called Vatnajökull. Jökull means glaciers in the Icelandic language. And when you walk here, you will feel this smell from the ashes there and the melting of the glacier combined. These waters here were once ice hundreds of years ago, and this glacier here might disappear in a couple of 100 years. So you can also do this activity where you're actually hiking in a glacier. where you're actually hiking across a glacier, or you can do ice cave exhibition and various kind of activities. You have many film studios that have used the glaciers in Iceland as filming locations, and not only the glaciers but also the scenic landscape in Iceland. For instance, Batman Begins was filmed using a glacier in Iceland, which is pretty cool, and it feels pretty incredible to be here because I'm a super Batman fan, for instance. You have other movies or series, for instance Game of Thrones used Iceland a lot to film various scenes, including the north part was filmed a lot using the ice and the snowy landscape of Iceland. You have Marvel movies, for instance Thor was filmed in Iceland. Specifically they used the waterfall, the Skogafoss, that I showed you earlier. And you have plenty others of movies and series that the director chose Iceland. You have this pond here filled with frozen ice, and so, but it's not so many different places. If you want to do a bigger exhibition, you need to wear proper clothes and you need to join these type of tours that offer this kind of exhibitions, and they let you do the hiking and climbing up the glaciers. And this is how it looks like from the inside. Pretty amazing. And I officially touched the glacier. Alright, so that was the glacier. Such an amazing experience. Even be able to see it from inside was super cool. Our next destination on this road here, we will be going to another waterfall. This time it's the waterfall called Seljalandsfoss, which I heard that you can even see from behind, so you can actually walk inside the waterfall. Sounds pretty cool. So we will see how it looks like when we finally reach that point. Alright, the next place on our route is a town called Vik, which is the southernmost town in all of Iceland. Black sand beaches. And the reason for that is that the sand is black and it comes from volcanic eruptions and the stones that has been formed during the years to turn into black stones, and it's pretty cool to actually think about. This is kind of a scenic stop just to get the overview of the town of Vik. It's the southernmost town in all of Iceland and it rains 270 days a year here, which is quite crazy to think about, but again, it's an island and it's a south coast. Alright, so the next destination we have arrived at is called Reynisdrangar, and this destination is quite special because, first of all, they have this black sands here. Have you ever been walking on a beach with black sand before?
It's very soft.
It's extremely soft to walk on. It's very special, and the reason for this black sand is because of volcanic eruptions. So these stones here are a combo of stones originating from volcanic ashes, and it just makes the whole beach very unique and very special. And actually, these kind of black beaches is not only to be found here on the south side of Iceland, it's actually to be found on the whole island, because of Iceland being a volcanic island. The thing with this beach here is that it's actually ranked as one of the most dangerous beaches in the world. And the reason for that is because of the waves. They have these sneaky waves that comes all of a sudden, and people die by this wave, so it's recommendable not to go too close to the beach due to these sneaky and unpredictable waves. They have this type of waves also in Australia, along with Iceland of course, and it's quite interesting to be here. And then in the far distance, over there, you see this basal column. And then you have this mountain shape here with these basal columns. It's exact same as you can find in Scotland, Northern Ireland, and Ireland in general. If you've ever been there, it's very cool, and it all derives from volcanic stones. Oh, and these waves here can seem more threatening than they actually are, but the thing is, they are very unpredictable. So it's very cool to be here, and this is all part of this South Coast tour. And this is practically how the basal columns look like from the very close distance. I'm officially touching it now. It's massive. Some interesting fact about this beach here is that Game of Thrones was actually filmed here on several occasions. That is one of many film locations that were used during the series. Again, shows that Iceland is an iconic landmark for film producers. We will be heading to our next destination, which is another fall, and I'll explain you more about that fall eventually. And the last stop on our South Coast journey is this waterfall here called Seljalandsfoss. I'm standing in front of it now, as you can see, and this waterfall here, it stands 60 meters above the ground. It just looks amazing, and the cool thing with this waterfall here is that they have carved out this cave that you can see behind there, where people can actually walk behind the waterfall, and that is such a cool thing. So let's do that. Have you ever been behind a waterfall? I think it's such a cool experience, because it's definitely the first time I've ever been behind a waterfall. Just some things to take into consideration. Be careful when you visit Seljalandsfoss. It's very slippery on the ground here, and you get constantly wet because it's you're basically just bathing in the shower water that the waterfall gives. So just be careful about that. Dress up carefully. It's nice with a hood, same as I have. Just have waterproof phones or camera, because it's very important. Otherwise it might be ruined due to the amount of water that reaches the lens. And also, it's very rocky when you walk. As you can see here, as we're walking now, it's very rocky formation. So just be aware of that, and it also includes a little bit of a hiking, so just be prepared. But just look at the view and the waterfall beside. It's just I'm wordless. It's so pretty. Alright, so practically when you walk around it, you start from over there, then you walk around in a circle until you reach this point here, where you start to do the small hiking trip. Be careful with the rocks, it's very slippery at the same time. And then you end up here. It approximately takes 10 to 15 minutes. Then you have this beautiful view here. It's so beautiful to look at. It's like a transparent silk falling down from the mountains. And it lands so smoothly and gives this rainy shower effect. So that was practically it from this South trip tour. It included a lot of stopovers. We had the waterfall, the first waterfall, Skogafoss, Forest Falls. You eventually end up in a glacier. You ended up in a village called Vik, where you also had these black sands emitted from volcanoes. You have these dolomites and this crazy waves, sneaky waves as they call it, and then you end up in this beautiful waterfall area here called Seljalandsfoss, where you can go around in a cave and look at the transparent fall from behind. So all in all, a perfect route for people who want to experience Iceland at its best. Costs around €100 if you book with an agency. So that's it from this route, and I hope you guys liked the video. See you guys next time.